Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Welcome to the penultimate episode of PS2 Tuesdays Season 3. This time I was supposed to be reviewing Red Dead Revolver, but I've had a few technical difficulties with it. The damn thing refuses to capture properly, and so that episode is still not ready. I hope to have it for you as the last episode of Season 3, but in the interest of keeping things moving along, I'm going to cover a different game this time. I haven't featured a puzzle game in the series before, so this time I'm taking a look at Luxor, Pharaoh's Challenge. It's surprisingly addictive and may be worth picking up if you stumble across a copy somewhere, though I do have a few alternative suggestions for you at the end of the episode. First though, a history lesson. I know how you love those. Back in 1998, Mitchell Corporation released an arcade game by the name of Puzzle. The gameplay consisted of different coloured balls travelling around a track. Should they reach the end of the track, the game would be over, so it was up to the player to take control of a spinner located somewhere on the level and to fire coloured balls onto the track. By matching 3 or more of the same colour, the player could destroy the balls on the track. If 2 sets of balls of the same colour were left on the track after you removed some balls, they would be magnetised towards each other, thus you could use this to set up chain reactions if you planned ahead a little bit. You may also know this game as Magnetica on the DS and Wii. Skipping ahead to 2003, PopCap Games released the title Zuma, which takes the gameplay of Puzzle, adds an Aztec theme to it, and introduces elements such as power-ups. These include things like rewinding the balls on the track for a few seconds, bombs that blow up any balls caught in the explosion, and many more. Mitchell Corporation felt that Zuma was a direct infringement on their IP, though they haven't managed to successfully sue PopCap to this date. The release of Zuma and the increase in popularity of smartphones has seen a raft of other Puzzle Loop clones, and the Luxor series is one of these. It does tweak the formula ever so slightly once again by putting your ball shooter on a rail along the bottom of the screen instead of the spinner. It's a minor change, but it does affect the gameplay a little bit. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's see how this PS2 version of the game holds up. With the PS2 obviously only a standard definition console, the graphics of Luxor are going to look a little bit fuzzy and grainy compared to the HD versions that are available on other platforms. They don't look too bad though, and the fuzziness never really impacts your ability to shoot the correct ball. That being said, there is a constant feeling while I'm playing this version that I could do better, which if you own a modest PC, a reasonably modern game console, or a smartphone, indeed you could be. The music that's present in Luxor Pharaoh's Challenge isn't exactly bad, there just isn't enough of it. Aside from the tune that plays in the menus, there's only one piece of music that plays over and over again in the background of the levels. Eventually you will probably want to mute it and listen to something else while playing. Voice acting is almost completely absent as well, aside from a female voice that says back when you activate the reverse power-up. Sound effects are perfectly decent, and the sound of balls clacking together is also quite satisfying, as it was in the Zuma games as well. So all things considered, the sound in Luxor isn't terrible, there just isn't much of it. Yet another area of the game that portrays its rather budget nature. This is of course the most important element of the game, and despite the rather lacking presentation, Luxor on the PS2 remains an enjoyable, addictive experience. When I first put the game in my console, I had intended to just check it out for half an hour or so. However, I was still playing 2 hours later. That says a lot. The levels are very nicely designed, and the Egyptian theme is a very strong one that works well. After a while things will ramp up in complexity with the introduction of additional coloured balls and multiple tracks that you have to manage at the same time. It can get rather stressful during these levels, let me tell you. Each stage of the single player campaign typically lasts for about 5 levels, at the end of which you are granted a blessing. These blessings all bestow some beneficial status on you, such as increasing the speed of your shots, making combos score a lot more points and thus fill up the completion meter faster, or adding a little aim indicator that makes hitting the right ball a lot easier. You can only have 3 blessings equipped at the same time, which is actually rather a lot considering how powerful they are. Between the stages are bonus rounds. There's one where you control the chain of balls instead of the shooter and have to move it around to try and make combos as the CPU fires the balls. rather strange. There's also another one which is like a shooter in the style of Gallagher, where you have to shoot the chain of balls as it wiggles its way around the screen. If you're a crack shot, you can still make combos by shooting the correct colours, but this is difficult. So the gameplay of Luxor is incredibly solid, but once again you could be playing another, better version of the game on a different system. The Luxor series is a clone of a clone, so I think it's fair to say that innovation isn't what it's going for. I will give it a few points for the good use of the Egyptian theme and putting the shooter on a horizontal rail though. Luxor Pharaoh's Challenge boasts 88 levels throughout its single-player campaign and 3 different difficulty settings. After you're done with the main campaign, there's also an endless mode that you can play on any of the stages, so the game will take a decent amount of time to beat, though there are other games in the puzzle loop genre that boast more modes and features. Back when this game was new, it was going for £20, and despite that budget price, it was still rather a lot for something that costs about £7 on a range of other platforms. Nowadays though, you can easily find a copy for a couple of quid, though I wouldn't really say it's worth going out of your way to get this version over one of the newer ones. You might have to spend about a £5 more to play a better version, but it's probably worth it. So then, as you've probably surmised by now, Luxor on the PS2 is perfectly decent and may be worth picking up for £2 if you just happen to find it while you're out and about. It offers 10 or so hours of solid gameplay. It's definitely not worth going too far out of your way to acquire it though, because a better looking, more fully featured version is just a download away on Steam, Xbox Live, PSN, Google Play or iTunes. That's the end of this episode. I will try again with Red Dead Revolver and hopefully should get it working in time for episode 36. If that one turns out to be about something else though, you know what's happened. In the meantime, take care.